everyone, good evening. Broadcasting live from Dallas, Texas, I'm Maria Vicella, and welcome to this webinar on how to get comfortable in your own skin as a coach. Talk about dealing with things, dealing with unexpected things with grace. I just got back from my son's daycare, and when I got there, a little boy was pushing my son. And I was behind the glass and there's nothing I could do. I was pounding against the glass and I felt so helpless. And I reminded myself, or I asked myself, how would you respond to this with poise and grace? This webinar was sparked because there's just definitely something in the air. As I have been growing and maturing in my coaching skills and my practice, I find that I respond completely differently to situations where maybe 4 months ago or a year ago, I would have gotten derailed, my confidence would have tanked, and I would have taken things so much more personal. And just here recently, about 4 things happened that totally could have really impacted my self-esteem. And I just kept going, and it just made me realize that there are certain things that I apply, that I use, that definitely help me keep going and bounce back from feedback, setbacks, things not going as planned, maybe even unsubscribes or offers, just not going as you would like. And I want to share those experiences with you. If you know anything about me, I am quite the honest coach. I'm very transparent, and I don't see that very many people talking about what kind of negative criticism they get or negative feedback. And it's going to be a very positive webinar. I'm definitely going to keep it short and sweet. But it's something that we need to talk about, because you may get some feedback and you may think that people that have made it big, not saying that I have, but I do have a nice level of success. Well, guess what? We do get it as well. We just don't talk about it. And I don't want you to feel bad or feel like you're the only person in the world that may not be doing something right, because that's not at all the case. So thank you for those of you that are joining live now. I haven't really started, but I did want to say that feedback has changed my life. And it's about this webinar, or this message is about 20 years in the making. I was about 14 years old when a guy told me, a guy who I had a major crush on, he told me that accents were for lazy people. And what I mean by that is, I grew up in Venezuela. I did not speak English. And this guy spoke perfect English when I met him. And I was 13, so I was very impressionable. And he said accents were for lazy people. So I get this all the time. Where did you learn English? How did you learn it so fast? Because I moved to the States 15 years ago and I didn't really speak a lot of English. Well, I tell you, that feedback that he gave me, or that comment he made, really impacted me, and it's worked for me in a favorable, positive way. Because ever since he said that, I guess trying to impress him, I grew this belief that if I had an accent, I would be lazy, which is so untrue, and it's not true at all. Are you kidding? I'm just fortunate. I'm good with languages, but I gotta tell you, different comments. And then about maybe 10 years ago, I was told that my written English sucked. So what did I do? I took English as a foreign language classes, and I really stressed my need for improving my English. So I'm going to be talking about how to turn those sour lemons, those sour things that you've heard or received, into actual improvements for your practice, so that you really become more memorable as a coach or business owner. Because I do believe that the way I've operated my business has really created a following, and just a following that I'm extremely proud of, because I've operated it in a way that's honest and very transparent and very humbling. They're very humble. So, so welcome. So the first thing I like to talk about is that no one is perfect, not even you, okay? So I can guarantee you, no matter where you come from or who you are, you're always getting some kind of feedback that you don't want to receive, or maybe some even criticism. And this just happened to me recently. I had someone come tell me that they weren't happy with me. And that was number one thing that happened that sparked me to want to create this webinar. And let me tell you, friends, no one is exempt. No one is immune to receiving some kind of feedback that you don't want to hear. So what do? Be humble. It's the first thing I'm going to say. You have to be humble, because if you get defensive, if somebody tells you something and you don't like it and you get defensive, it's not going to help the situation one bit. You really have to take responsibility for your part and ascertain or get curious as to what part this person is not happy with, and get really clear with it, and take responsibility for your own dance, for the dance that you have with the client. Okay, you have a part, they have a part. So it does take two to tango. And you definitely need to ascertain what specifically they're not happy with. And if you do feel like you could have done a better job, don't get all upset about it. Just be humble and do whatever you can to correct it. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Absolutely no one is perfect. I know pretty high-end coaches that have been under just a lot of criticism, not even that long ago. And you have to remember, maybe there's something to what you're being told, and don't get defensive. Just get curious, ask, but be really humble about it. If you've gotten criticism of feedback, you gotta realize you're not going to please everybody. Okay, you're not going to please everyone. It's just not going to happen. As a matter of fact, if there are people who all of a sudden get triggered either by your success or by what's happening in your life, or maybe the way you're operating things has triggered some people, then good. Here's why: because we're not here to please everyone. When you try to please everybody, this is what happens. You're probably being too nice. You're not going to be either here nor there. You're probably going to be somewhere in the middle. And when you're in the middle, you're lukewarm. And lukewarm produces lukewarm results. And I think you want red hot results, right? So you really do need to make up your mind and go with that, and know that you're not going to please everyone. And that's quite all right, because there's plenty of people out there that absolutely need our help and our support. Realize that what you're being told is probably a gift. Every single thing that happens to us in life is feedback, okay? Feedback to change the course, feedback to make tweaks, to maybe take a different turn. So don't be close to it. It is the universe's way of telling you, hey, wake up. So I want to introduce you a little story. And I mentioned it a couple of minutes ago that I had someone recently, a dear client, told me that this person wasn't happy with the way things were going. First of all, you take a step back, because you think you're doing everything right, and turns out, unbeknownst to you, and maybe it isn't going the way you thought it was going. And when this person said that, it really stopped me on my tracks. And immediately I asked, what's going on? You left me speechless. I don't get speechless often, so thank you for saying that. And the first thing I always do when somebody tells me something, even if I don't like it, is thank you. Thank you. That's part of being humble. Trust me, it's life's way of calling you out on something that maybe you need to hear. So I did tell this person thank you. And I also told her, thank you for speaking up. Because one thing about feedback is that we may be humble at receiving it, or we may be okay with receiving feedback, and you can take it and you can grow from it, which is what I advocate for. Take it and grow from it. But sometimes, often as women, we don't speak up. We don't tell somebody, hey, I'm not happy with this, or that, this isn't really going. Maybe you're not getting what you wanted out of a coaching relationship, or out of your business, or out of a specific contract with someone. And we don't say anything for the fear of upsetting them. And I've done this all my life because of the people-pleasing aspect. My friends, this is a call to you to say something. So when my client actually came out and said that, the first thing I did was acknowledge her power, and her actually coming back into her power. And you know what it did for us actually is that it broke the ice. It absolutely broke the ice. And for the first time, I feel like we were speaking soul to soul, because there was emotion. And apparently this had been going on for a little bit of time and some time, and this person really wasn't saying anything. So how can you correct something if you don't know that you're doing something wrong? Does that make sense? So it is your responsibility, honestly, to receive it, but also to give it, especially in our coaching business. If we are modeling for our clients, it is extremely important that, if you're not happy with something, it's okay to say it. You actually may be helping the person, okay? This comes back to my point, or I don't know if I've made it or not, but don't take anything personal. You have no idea what the person's going through. Maybe there is a valid point to what they're saying, but sometimes maybe the person is just going through a rough time. recently it also happened where someone I'm working with, they're going through, a difficult time, and I'm not taking it personal. I certainly don't want to be anyone's punching bag, but it's not being done to you. Maybe it's being done for you. So another thing I want to discuss is that, another reframe that I want to introduce for you in case you've ever faced any feedback, criticism, or setback and in a coaching relationship, is that maybe if someone is unhappy with you, that is one person or two people, okay? That's not the rest of the world. And so you have to keep things in perspective. You absolutely have to keep things in perspective, okay? And I know, especially at the beginning, so I've been a full-time coach for 2.5 years, but trust me, that first year, I wanted to please everyone. I wanted everyone to love me and fall in love with me, and I wanted everybody to be super happy with me. And if anyone said anything negative, I could die, right? Then I got into my second year, and things not always went as planned. As a matter of fact, many of you know me from my story that I hit financial rock bottom, and then my business started really taking off after I hit rock bottom. Right before I hit rock bottom, I had 3 clients back out on their agreement. Last minute, right after Christmas, I was devastated. That's what triggered my financial setback, because I was counting on this money naively, right? And then these people backed out, which I totally respect, and it's perfectly understandable. I didn't hate them. I never did. I handled it with the best grace, because I knew the universe had somehow lined up these 3 people from different parts of the globe to suddenly back out in a 36-hour period for a bigger reason. And now I know it, right? But just another example that things are happening for you and not to you. So it's really hard when you're counting on someone or you're counting on something going really well and it not happening. It's a huge bummer. However, I invite you to welcome it. That's probably one of my easiest ways that I have to convey to you that it is a call to a tweak, a change. It needs to be a welcome thing. Even if it hurts, surrender. Because you can't hope that didn't happen. You can't hope for a better relationship. You can't hope for a better yesterday or a better moment. It's already in the past. So you might as well open yourself up and surrender it and ask the person or ask God, what's in it for me? Obviously, there's something in it for you. This has happened to me at least 2 or 3 times where the person freaked out after they started working with me and they wanted to backtrack, and it wasn't necessarily me in every case. But I also didn't want to be in contract or relationships with people that were not happy with me, So I didn't want to force anyone into something that they're not entirely happy with. So I've always been very open and honest and really try to push fear to the side, because I think fear is what makes us defensive, or fear is what's going to want to make you hold on to the client. But I find that there needs to be a grace period if this ever happens to you. Get a grace period going, like, okay, let's try this again, or let's get a second chance. If the person isn't open to that, then that's a completely different conversation. Maybe the ego took over for them, which I've seen it at least twice, where people totally freaked out after they had made payments and stuff. And oh my goodness, I just wish them well, because I know this isn't what every coach teaches, but I'm just being completely honest. Would you want to be tied down to a relationship that maybe the person isn't entirely happy with? So this is personal. That's a totally personal decision. Everyone, you're a business owner, you're entitled to make your own choices. But this stuff is real life, folks. It happens. It happens all the time. I mean, some of my best friends are totally killing it online. And guess what? It happens to them too. We just don't talk about it openly, okay? But listen, feedback is just not a conclusion. Okay, feedback is not a definitive death sentence on anyone. So yeah, sometimes it may hurt your ego a little bit. Heck, it does hurt. Of course it hurts, but it's not, I'm just breaking the ice on this. Okay, it's not the first or the last time it's going to happen to you. You're not here to please everybody. Trust me, if you get feedback, you should empower the person and thank them, and then turn it into something better. As for me, because this happened recently, oh my gosh, I have not only stepped up my game, but I've actually put some structures in place to make sure this doesn't happen again, at least not in the foreseeable future, because guess what? I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect either, and you're not. No one is. Contrary to what we want to believe, no one is perfect, okay? Here's the thing, my friends. When you're up leveling, like if you're changing fields, if you're changing niche, if you are maybe deciding to play a bigger game and you're going to be more visible and you're going to like take it to the next level, as I hit my hand, you are going to be triggered. Some things are going to happen where you're going to feel the pull to maybe go back into hiding. How do I say this? There's a theory by Gay Hendricks in the book, The Big Leap, that talks about upper limiting. So when you're growing, you're going to experience growing pains. End of story. You know, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually, or in the entrepreneurial world. And some things are going to happen. I mean, you're shifting into a new paradigm. You're shifting into a new path, into a new way of being, living, thinking, breathing, being, right? You're leaving behind some stuff. That leaving behind there, that's not going to want to let you go. So some things are going to happen to sort of sabotage you or try to hold you back in place in the old. So I'm here to tell you that if you're triggering people, or if people may be coming out, and I printed this thing, where is it? I don't know where it went. Yeah, it's like hater means having anger towards everyone having success. Well, I don't necessarily believe that, but in my circles, when you get a hater, we celebrate, because that means that, ooh, you finally have a stance on something, and maybe you're not being liked by everyone, and that is a sign that you're growing. Believe it or not. So I know it's not pretty, but I was talking about Gay Hendricks in The Big Leap. He talks about the theory of upper limiting, which is anytime you go for a new limit, like a new height, you're breaking through a glass ceiling of sorts in your business, work, or life. Some things are going to happen to test you, distract you, or just really test your commitment. You know, you're going to start thinking, oh, maybe I need to charge less. Maybe I need to shrink a little. Maybe I don't need to be so on point. That's not at all the case. If all these things are happening, like the 4 things that happened to me last year, which I'm about to jump into, one of the most, like the craziest one of all, that totally almost derailed me, but I didn't let it. And it happened on my birthday. Yeah, that means that you're growing. It means, I know it's counterintuitive, but if you're triggering, if things are coming out to try to test you, that means you're actually stretching. Thank you very much. So I said at the beginning that this webinar was triggered by a few things that happened. And one of them was, you know, I had to have a soul to soul with a client that was not happy with me. Then one of my best friends got this massive hater email, and she's pretty big online. And then one of my fiance's clients was not happy with the treatments. He's a chiropractic student and an energy healer. Then had another former client come to me telling me that something that I said was very misleading. Then, I mean, I just had a few things that happened in my environment and to me personally. And the mother of all of those was that the Huffington Post wrote me to tell me that they rejected my article. So if you're in my list and if you've been following me, I have only talked about the Huffington Post article like 500 times. No, it's really like 4 times. I've sent like 4 emails talking about how I saw the Dalai Lama. I met this person who's like in the transformational leader world. He's a leader there and he's very influential. Then the Ariana Huffington responded to my email saying that they would love to feature me. And on my birthday, I get this email saying that they would thank you, but no thank you, that they'd like to pass up on my article. And I was a little bit upset, to say the least, at the beginning. But the first thing that came to mind was, that's okay. I'll pitch it to the New York Times. So I'm in the process of pitching it to other homes and finding a new home. When I reacted that way, I realized that I've grown quite a bit as a coach, that I am not the same sensitive person that would get easily offended, that would get triggered more easily, and that would feel like I'm not good enough, or I'm not ready yet. Maybe I need to back off a little bit. Maybe I need another training or another certificate, or maybe I need more validation. No, my friends, you have enough. You are enough. Just because Maybe one person told you something that didn't agree with you, maybe because a client backed out, maybe because someone canceled the contract, or maybe someone isn't happy with the way things are going with your business. It's okay. It's a sign that you're growing. It's a sign that you're making a statement and that life is testing your dream, is testing your commitment to staying on the path, to staying in your lane. And as counterintuitive as it sounds, the things that may pop up to sabotage you and slow you down are likely the very things you need in order to know that you're getting out of your comfort zone. Let me tell you, friends, that the only way you tone the body, like my super body and muscle, like the only way you can tone the body is by doing repetitions, by lifting weights. You start with small, then you get a little heavier stuff, and that's how you get toned. And in life, how you get toned is by trying again, repetition, by getting out of your comfort zone. It's not easy to start lifting like maybe from 5 pounds to 10 pounds. It's not easy, but that's how you get toned, because that's where I was going with the message. You get toned by lifting repetitiously and by lifting maybe a little heavier over time. In life, we get toned by stretching outside of our comfort zones. That's the way you get the results you want. And as you do that, you're going to experience growing pains. And I call setbacks, people unsubscribing, maybe things not going your way, I call them trial and errors. I call them growth. So if you're experiencing some of the things I'm talking about in this webinar, I want to give you a hug and tell you, congratulations. That means you're trying. Okay. So if you're not scared, one of my virtual mentors says, if you're not scared at least once a week, you're not doing enough. So that's why I believe in bold actions. That's why I believe in, doing this webinar. Even, 30 people signed up and I was happy with that. But up to this afternoon, there were about 18. That's okay. I needed to do it and get this message out there. And yeah, so listen, I have some practical tips to share with you. If you do have MailChimp, GetResponse, Active Campaign, Aweber on your phone, and you're addicted to checking your stats, you got to stop that, because it's so funny to me how if you have a list, some of us don't, some of you maybe don't have a list. That's totally fine. I don't focus on list building at all, especially at the beginning. Stop checking your stats, because you're focusing on the unsubscribes. Like, yes, the subscribes are good, but we're just so wired to go straight to the unsubscribe. So I would encourage you to stop doing that. Another practical tip that I wanted to give you is there is a quote that I will be happy to share with you if you ask me. I'll see if I can include it in the replay. There's a quote by Gay Hendricks, the same guy that I was quoting about the upper limiting and the sabotage that happens, like unconscious sabotage that happens when you're growing and when you're stretching, right? And which is what just happened to me. There's a quote that he talks about it as the antidote for upper limiting and for harmonious growth in your life. So I love this quote so much. And I often, especially when I'm up leveling, when I'm growing the way I am right now, I repeat it all the time. And it goes something like this. I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. Gay Hendricks. So this quote is supposed to be the antidote to upper limiting. So what does it mean? It means, dear God, universe, allow me to expand in harmony, in abundance, in success and love. Allow my inner child not to freak out, when I'm when I'm investing in all these things that are growing my business. When things maybe don't go as planned, it's not a personal attack, it's just feedback, okay? And feedback is what we need to keep making decisions. Yeah, so just to recap, I told you I would keep it short and to the point. So no one is perfect. Be humble when something presents itself to you that maybe points out something you could have done better, or maybe something not going as planned. If someone is giving you that feedback, acknowledge them. Tell them, thank you. Thank you so much, because I know this is helpful. And trust me, it's going to help you grow and really develop a little thicker skin, because you will need that. If you have big dreams like myself to be on big stages with like the Oprahs and the Elizabeth Gilberts of the world, you're going to have to face some criticism, okay? You're going to face some feedback. You're not going to please everyone. That brings me to my next point. You have to release the need to be liked by everyone, to please everyone. It's not for your services, your message. It's not for everybody, okay? Turn feedback into improvement, okay? So over deliver. Like I said, when something is told to you and it's something you could have done better in your business, you have to fix it. No questions asked. You gotta pull your pants up and do self-reflection, do what you need to do. What could you have done better? Could you have been stronger? Like in my case, one of the things I could have done better was more follow-up. And actually, I'd been feeling some of the tension and I should have called it out before I let the client get to me first. So just be a leader, honestly, be a stronger leader. And if you feel something, follow your intuition. It's probably right. Don't fear the client, honestly. I've learned that the hard way. Another thing I talked about is 1 or 2 people's opinions don't equal the rest of the world. So don't generalize, don't globalize, because it's not fair. Take responsibility for your part, and feedback is not a death sentence. So, take it. I know it hurts your ego, but just move on, right? Like nobody's perfect. So at this point, if anyone has any questions, there's a few of you live on the line, live on the webinar. If any of you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them if I can figure out how to do this live chat here with, yeah, so I just turned it on. Hey, Sharice, when someone wants to back out, do you have a refund policy? Perhaps a prorated amount of time you have already spent with them? Yes. So I have, for example, in my practice, I have a no refund policy. I really do. And however, I have done a prorated refund for a couple of people in the past, several months ago, that really turned out not to be a good fit at all. And it was close to the beginning of the relationship. And like I said, not very many coaches talk about this openly because they say, no, you have to stand for the contract, blah, 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 blah. Of course, right? But it's, we're all humans and it could happen to anyone. And we're all not magicians and we don't have crystal balls. We don't know how the relationship is going to go. And if it turns ugly at the beginning, come on, like you cannot just say, okay, this is the legal contract, abide by it. So gosh, I hope this doesn't come back to bite me, but it's the truth. You cannot forget your humanness, okay? Especially if you're working one-on-one with someone and you're meant to work for 6 months or 3 months. Are you kidding? If by the 3rd session, you're not getting along at all, you need to have a talk and discuss something. Oh, good one, Moj. Thank you, Sharice. I hope that helps. How do you follow up without coming across pushy? Ooh, so first of all, Moj, so if you feel like people following up with you in the past has been kind of pushy, that's what I sense, then you absolutely need to do some tapping or forgiveness around this. Like you have to call to mind the times when you felt like people have followed up with you and it felt pushy or it felt icky or salesy. Does that make sense? Just if you could say yes. So I would encourage you to journal about the times when people have come to you and you felt like, ew, right? That's the first thing. You need to declutter those memories first and foremost, because without you even knowing it, it's going to block your abundance. It's going to block the way clients are going to respond to you because you're already projecting that you don't want to come across as pushy. So you've already put that into the field that some people are going to perceive you as that. I don't even have that in my consciousness anymore because to me, it's a huge disservice to leave someone hanging. If I've given them a free session and I've asked them to work on something and I don't follow up with them, to me, that just feels incomplete. Whether they take it as pushy or not, that's really none of my business. I am so perhaps I just journal about it. I can guarantee you at least 1 or 2 things are going to come up. Maybe it was a salesman or someone calling you on the line, or just nonstop trying to push you for something. Those, just journal about it and you'll see what comes up. But going back to following up with grace, I will say, yeah, for me, it's closing of the loop. It's, and also I'm not asking for any sale. I never encourage anyone to via email, say, hey, we just talked about this. Would you like to sign up with me? No, my approach to signing on clients has always been the patient approach. I have people signing up with me now that I talked to 8 months ago or 6 months ago. At the time I followed up with them and maybe I got crickets, but then they try to go on their own. And then, now they're back, and that's totally fine. Like I genuinely don't follow up trying to get clients left and right. That's how I've built my trust factor, is to be consistent. And if you've told somebody that you're going to follow up, then you absolutely need to say, I was just checking in. How was your week? Did you work on what we talked about? Did that work for you? Or, please let me know, send me an update. Chances are, depending on the case, and I would love it if you could email me specifically what it is. I love writing emails. I love engaging people via email I do this for my clients all the time, like in a very graceful way, in a very non-pushy way. I really think if you go at it with your heart and with service, you're going to get loyal clients. So I was trying to be helpful by sending two set of info, and the person asked me to stop spamming. Ooh, okay. I'm so sorry that happened to you. That person is not your ideal client, and that person does not get coaching. I hate to tell you that. Because anyone that knows that you're being helpful would never be offended by that. They would probably just ignore the email. But for somebody to say, stop spamming me, that probably will never happen to you ever again. I can guarantee you that, Moj. You're amazing. The little bit about you, I know that you would never come across as a pushy salesperson. So this person, we probably caught her on a wrong date. Like it was probably full moon, or she was on her period. That will never happen to you again. I've never seen that happen, by the way. So I wouldn't take that personal. So Cherie says, I don't think that's pushy. I think it's serving them and just checking in to make sure they don't have any lingering questions. Exactly. I don't feel like it's complete. One thing that I will tell you is, we're speaking of follow-up is, feedback and all that. I have a spreadsheet where I keep track of people that I've talked to in the past. Pretty much everyone I talk to, I write down in a spreadsheet on Fridays, which I try for Fridays to be kind of like my admin days. And I keep track of everybody I talk to. And some people I want to follow up with. Some people I feel like the call was complete when I had I don't have a lot of discovery calls. I feel like I have more like connection calls, to be honest with you. Anyone else? I hope that helps. That is definitely when that person, Moj, when that person responded with that was extremely, like, it hurt me to read it, that somebody did that to you, because it's not fair and you weren't trying to spam her. So I would definitely do the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is my go-to thing for deleting memories and just releasing things from your system, which is the, I am sorry, I forgive you, I love you, thank you. So literally write it out and say, I forgive that person. That person just had no idea, you were just trying to be helpful. So that person does not stand on the truth. That person was just really triggered. Hey, Sean from Guatemala, nice to see you. Anyone else has something they'd like to share? So feel free to message me if you have any further questions about this. I'll try to compile these notes and send them out. It's not easy to talk about these things. Like, nobody wants to admit that they have something that somebody's not happy with, but it's real life, folks. And as you grow your business, as you change into your, as you step into your final niche, or like that final clarity piece, right? Like maybe you didn't have it before and this time you're gung-ho about it and you're totally going for it. Guess what? Not everything's going to be perfect. Some people are not going to like it, but don't take it personal. One of my favorite books ever is The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And one of the 4 agreements by the Toltec wisdom in in Mexico, where he's from, and he's part of the Toltec culture, says don't take anything personal because you have no idea what that person's programming is, what their upbringing is, what their triggers are. So don't let them put their story on you. Okay, so that is their story. Don't let them put it on you. And with that, I don't see I have any more questions. So I am going to wrap it up by telling you, my friends, that feedback has totally changed my life. If I hadn't gotten, for example, the feedback I got that my writing sucked in English, I don't think I would be as great a writer as I am these days, where I write a lot of copy for my clients, and I've even had people tell me, hey, maybe you should consider a career in copywriting, which is so far from something I'm really great at. But that's a big compliment, because 10 years ago, I got told that my English and my written English sucked. So feedback can actually change your life. Take it, digest it. It truly could make you an even more memorable and outstanding coach. So with that, oh, you're welcome, Cherise. Thank you for being on. Love the honest and upfront sharing. It's really encouraging. Of course, yes. If you want to hear more truths about entrepreneurship and how much it can suck, it doesn't have to, but it is true. You know where to find me. So sending you lots of love. And if anybody wants to talk further with me, please send me a message. I'm an open book, and I'm always happy to chat and share with new people. Take care.